And we are starting in Turkey, where you've been hearing all about the fact that they've had a general election and most ballots have now been counted in what is seen as a crucial election this time. There does not appear to be a clear winner. Official figures indicate that President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has fallen just short of the 50% of the vote that's needed. His secular opposition rival Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu is around 45%, with a runoff contest in 2 weeks' time more than likely. Turkey has been grappling with a cost of living crisis, with inflation running at around 44% at the moment, a key factor in Turkish sentiment. Well, let's go live to the capital and speak to our reporter, Victoria Craig, who spent most of the night with the opposition party at their HQ. Hello again to you, Victoria. So talk us through the night as it became clear that we could be looking at a runoff in a couple of weeks. What was it like?
Well, Sally, I think you could really see the mood shifting as the night wore on. Initially, things were very excited. There was a flurry of activity when the votes started coming in, and there was a press room where the opposition would sort of gather all the reporters as the night went on, just to say that they thought that the numbers that were coming in weren't necessarily representative of the overall vote outcome. At first, it was really fast-paced. We'd get in there, there'd be a press conference. As the night wore on, by the time we got to the end of the night, when all six coalition parties joined together on the stage, we waited about 40 minutes for them to come on stage. They made a very quick statement, read off a sheet of paper. And so you contrast that with what we saw from President Erdogan just down the street from where I was at CHP headquarters. And he had this massive crowd outside that he was speaking to, very enthusiastic. And so the difference, the mismatch in tone there, I think sort of tells you what you need to know about what might happen over the next 2 weeks and how both parties are sort of feeling heading into what is most likely to be, as you say, a runoff election.
And, you know, for voters, it's not the outcome they wanted. They probably more than likely wanted a result today so they could crack on with a new agenda, whatever that may be, because you've been in Turkey for a few months gauging the mood. People are tired and weary, aren't they, of the economic crisis, not to mention the awful, tragic earthquake as well.
Yes, exactly. People all up and down this country resoundingly say that the economy is the biggest issue for them. That's the biggest issue that drove them to the ballot box yesterday. As you pointed out, inflation has been red hot for the last several years. It topped out last October at 85.5%. As you say, it's come back slightly since then. But far and away, household finance is the biggest reason why people, want to see some change. Those who wanted to elect the opposition wanted to see something different. Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu and his six-party coalition vowed to return to more normal, more orthodox monetary policy, using interest rates to combat rising prices like we see other central banks around the world do. It's unclear now whether that will happen if President Erdogan wins another 5 years in office. There are a number of questions about what happens to the lira currency, which has shed almost half its value in the last year or so. So there's a lot of questions for investors international investors who have really fled this country. Lots of questions for them, lots of questions for the people who remain here, obviously living in this country, about what the economy is going to look like and what their personal financial situations will be.
Yeah, as you say, so many questions about the future. So for the next 2 weeks, you would assume that both parties will be pushing so hard to get any votes they can, because that will be making all the difference, won't it?
It will. And I think what's telling, too, is how the AK party, President Erdogan's party, did over the course of the parliamentary elections, which also happened yesterday. He's thought to secure a majority with his ruling coalition in the parliament. So that could weigh on how people make their decision about which candidate to vote for. This next runoff will only go to 2 candidates. And so they could lean more toward the AK party in that case. That could influence their decision.
Victoria, thank you so much. Good to talk to you again. Victoria Craig, who's been an anchor for us for this election.